Hello and welcome to Drawing the Three Sisters, Corn, Beans, and Squash, part of our Native American art unit. And these three crops were a big part of Native American farming for centuries, and they're still on the dinner table today. So first you're going to need a couple pieces of paper, and I've got some cold pressed cardboard too. You're going to need a pencil, something to color with. I'm using markers and crayons today. It's up to you, whatever you got. I'm going to start with my white paper. I'm going to get us started on some basic lines and shapes. So first, I want you to try to draw several straight lines. Then we're going to move on to wavy lines. And when you draw them, try to draw them right next to each other. Next we have the curvy line, and it's just like a small curve, kind of like parentheses. If you ever have to use those in math class, you know what I'm talking about. Alright, next, let's do some circles. My circles look kind of like ovals sometimes. Let's talk about the oval or the egg shape. I'm going to make the egg shape next. And then next, we've got another shape right here. It's called the oblong. It's a bit longer, and while the egg has sides that are curvy, the oblong has sides that are kind of straight. The top and the bottom are still curvy, so there's the top, curvy. The sides are straight, and the bottom is curvy. Let's try that again. Curvy, straight, curvy, straight. There we go. Curvy, straight. So, as you see, we've talked about how the oval has curvy sides, the oblong has straight sides, and the oval is actually the shape that a face normally becomes. But we have another type of oval here. Looks kind of like a football shape or an eyeball shape. And that's made of two curvy lines put together. So, if we have it flat at the bottom too, that makes kind of an almond shape. So we're going to be using all those. And next I have a kind of special shape here. We're going to be talking about this. It's a straight side with that one curvy line right there. That's a bean pod. There we go. Straight and curvy. Straight line and a curvy line makes a bean pod. Next we're going to take our oblong shape and we're going to make it into a squash shape. We're going to make the sides come in a little bit. They curve in towards the middle a little bit. So instead of having straight sides, they're kind of wobbly. The top is still curvy, and the bottom is still curvy. But look at the sides. They're going to wiggle in like that. There we go. And a little stem on top. Alright, now that we've practiced all our basic shapes, we're ready to get started. And just a quick note, if you don't have any nice paper, cardboard works great for this. If you got an old box, and I used a popcorn box. Next, I'm going to turn my paper so that it is long up and down. That's vertical. We call that portrait style. Make sure your name is on it. And then I'm going to start with the corn. The corn stalk is going to be 3 straight lines that come down the middle of the paper. 3 straight lines, just like that. And I'm going to go up to the top. And I'm going to make a couple of corn leaves with these curvy lines. Just curvy lines like that. Then I make my eyeball shape with 2 curvy lines. Curve, curve. A couple extra leaves here. Now I'm going to add the leaves that are wrapped around. I'm just using that curved line again. And at the top, there's some corn silk. That's just a couple of strings. So I'm going to use some lines like that. And then my corn is going to be kind of a crisscross pattern. There we go. There's my corn silk. I'm using wavy lines this time. And I'm going to use a couple of mostly straight lines here. There we go, to make the corn. Next, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page for the squash. So all the way at the bottom. first I need to add my ground line. So I'm going to put a straight line across the bottom, makes the ground. Then I'm going to make that weird oblong shape, right? It's got its sides coming in. And now I have a squash. And up here, in this empty spot, I'm going to make a flower. This squash has a pretty yellow flower. So I'm going to start by making a circle, and then another circle right next to it, and then a third one in between those two on the bottom. Now this part's tough. I'm going to make 3 straight lines coming out of each circle. So it's going to come out of that circle, coming out of this side of this circle, 3 straight lines, and then 3 straight lines right here. But wait, I've got more. I'm gonna put some off to this side. 1, 2, 3, and then one more. 1, 2, 3. All right, so now I've got 5 of those. I'm gonna make the petals of my flower by making a curvy line over my straight lines. So curve, 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 curvy line, and curvy line. There we go. I'm going to zoom out, and when you look at the squash flower, there's also like a little circle around those pollen buds in the middle. So there we go. I'm going to add my stem. It's going to go to the flower and then back down to the ground. And over here, I'm going to add my beanstalk. Now the beanstalk likes to wrap around the cornstalk, so we're going to do something special here. I'm going to make a curvy line that goes through those 2 lines of the stalk, and right next to it I'm gonna make it another curvy line, and it's gonna go right through those lines, right through. There we go. And we'll stop right there. Now I'm gonna take that line, I'm gonna continue it to curve around to the bottom, and take my other line and it's gonna catch up to it. Curve around. There we go. Now I'm just gotta erase these little lines right here. Take that out, and that is my beanstalk wrapping around. Now I've got to get it back to the ground. So on the other side, 2 curvy lines bringing the beanstalk all the way to the ground. Then I'm gonna add my bean pods. So here they go. Here's the tops of them, that straight line. And now we're going to add our curvy line underneath to make the pod. So inside there are some beans. Green beans. Gotta have them. Alright, and I'm going to add these little curvy lines here. That shows where the beans are growing inside of the seed pod. So it looks like it's full of beans. There we go. Next, we've got our beans, we got our corns, we got our squash. We're gonna add our ink. I'm gonna take a marker. I'm gonna trace all of my lines. And if there's some lines that I don't want, I'm just gonna leave them there. I'm not gonna erase them because we're gonna color over it. It'll be fine. So when you're done inking your design, we're gonna start to color. And I picked out 4 colors of green because I want all my stalks to look different. So my corn stalk has a light green in the middle and dark green on the outsides. And even my corn has these, it has light green underneath, and I come over it with a little bit of darker green. Next I'm gonna put in my yellows. I'm gonna make sure my beans are a different color of green than my corn. And my squash is gonna be this kind of light brown, kind of yellowish orangey color. I made my ground brown, and for the background I picked 3 different colors of blue just to make it a little more interesting. I wanted to have some changes in the color of the background, but it's all blue, all different shades of blue. So when you're done, take a picture of your work and enjoy it. That's all for now. Bye for now, and have a good Thanksgiving.